Welcome. What's up, everybody? My name is Michael Fletcher, and welcome to a very special edition of the Rangers Roundup. Of course, I'm alongside fellow New York Ranger fan and and I think I can call him the Eddie Olczyk of our crew. Anthony Florio is with us tonight, and normally this is during our off season, so nothing really comes out. Yes, we hear a lot of stories about New York Rangers signings and some stuff that comes out of the NHL that really doesn't you know give us that big of a spark or something that would make us stand up or make a video or anything else, because normally this is the off season, the quiet season. Preseason's right around the corner, so this is around the time where we kind of are more geared into different sports. We are definitely focusing on the Major League Baseball pennant races, and of course the NFL is about to kick off in less than a couple of weeks. So we start bracing ourselves for that, and of course, strictly sports with our Football Friday and Football Saturdays. Actually, the season premieres are this weekend. Check your local listings for the time in your area when it comes to that. But normally, the NHL is very quiet, except for yesterday, when Anthony Florio dropped a nuclear bomb on all of us that had us all staggering for the keyboards. And that's right, Anthony Florio was able to get some intel and from other news organizations from around the world that Gary Bettman, the commissioner of the National Hockey League, has announced that in 2017 there could be a possibility of four brand new teams coming into the league that will make it 34 teams, the most of any sport in professional history. The four teams could be consisting of a franchise in Seattle, a franchise in Las Vegas, Nevada, and two from our brothers from the north up in Canada. A second Toronto franchise could be rewarded to them, and the big one, the one that pretty much got Anthony Florio all tingly with celebration, the return of possibly the Quebec Nordiques. A Quebec City team could be on the verge of happening. Now, these are all rumors. There's nothing etched in stone. However, there is one bit of news coming out of the Quebec side that makes it very realistic that this could happen. A, a arena has been built and is now could be as open as early as next year in 2015. Could this be the reason why the NHL could be bringing possibly the Nordiques back? Well, me and Anthony got into a very, very lengthy conversation last night on Facebook, and now we're going to do it here live for you great fans on the Rangers Roundup. But before we get my opinion, let's go to the man that kind of broke the news and kind of created quite a stir on the Facebook last night. Let's hand it off to Anthony Florio.
All right, thank you very much. Indeed, yes, I wrote the story last night. I noticed on Twitter that how things are trending. Okay, the NHL was trending. I'm like, why in the world would the NHL be trending at this time of year? I mean, season's not underway yet, so I'm like, all right, let me go into this. Let me see why on earth is the NHL trending? And then I see this, and then I see this article from SI.com, and I'm like, whoa, this is we have to address this. It's something that needs to be addressed, really, honestly. Four teams, four new teams in the NHL. I mean, unbelievable. I mean, Toronto getting a second franchise. I mean, it would be like New York. I mean, New York's got two franchises. The Islanders, who haven't been relevant in how many years, and of course, the Rangers, who came off a season unlike any other. Who, of course, Mikey and I had a lot of fun with it. I think I had too much fun with it, but made it all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals. To be quite honest, they should have won it. I'm just being honest, but it is what it is. But quite frankly, I know a lot of people are saying, "Are you still on that?" Yes, I am still on it. Because the way they lost it, I mean, it's just going to take some time for me to get over it. So that's all there is to say about that. But anyways, you got the Rangers and now there's two New York teams there. I mean, Toronto's got the Maple Leafs. I don't know what they're going to do with this second Toronto team. Question is, are they going to share the Air Canada Center? I mean, there's a great chance that could happen. Like the Lakers and the Clippers share the Staples Center in the NBA. So we'll have to see how they do with that. Seattle, obviously, you would have to think Key Arena. That's what you have to think there. I don't know any other arenas in Seattle. So it would be the third pro franchise for the city. I mean, you got the Super Bowl champion Seahawks, who will start defense of that Super Bowl championship next Thursday night when the NFL season starts, and they go against the Green Bay Packers in what should be a hell of a game. And then, of course, in baseball, you got the Mariners, who are actually having one of their better seasons for the first time in years. I can't remember the last time that team was actually any good, but they're actually in the thick of a playoff push. So we'll see what happens with that. I mean, it'd be great for the city. Vegas. I mean, look at Vegas. I mean, the closest thing that city's had to a professional franchise was the XFL team, the Outlaws. We all remember that, the Las Vegas Outlaws. I mean, I'll never forget that first game against the New York Hitmen, the New York, New Jersey Hitmen. That was my favorite team in the XFL. And that vicious hit by Brandon Sanders, B-Mac, the Toki State feud. Yeah. Fletch and I had a lot of fun with that. I'll tell you that right now. Oh, boy. I mean, we used to relive that hit day after day after day. I mean, this was long before YouTube. So, and now that YouTube's here, I mean, it's been around for years. We could relive that sucker anytime we want. And quite frankly, I've been reliving that quite a bit. So, but it'd be great for the city of Vegas. And where would they go? Well, only one logical venue, the MGM Grand Garden Arena. That it would have to be that, or unless that little small arena that consists of Caesar's Palace, where WCW used to do Monday Nitro tapings back in '96 or so. And then of course the coup de grace. This for me is this last city makes me very happy. Quebec City. When you think about Quebec City, you can only think of one thing: the Nordiques. It's got to be the Nordiques. It has to be the return of the Quebec Nordiques. I mean, a couple of years ago, they brought back the Winnipeg Jets. You know how very happy I was when they brought them back. I mean, when they formerly the Atlanta Thrashers, they brought them back. They repackaged them as the Winnipeg Jets. Smart move, and I'm being real honest. That, and this is one of those rare times where I can honestly say that was best for business, and I accept that without a doubt. Bring back the Quebec Nordiques. Damn sure that's best for business. They got a new arena. They're going to be opening up a new arena next year. And all this is slated to go down in 2017. And of course, a report came out today that Deputy Commissioner Daley there said that, of course they're saying that no such thing is in the works, but it's 2017, and I'm hoping that this all goes down. I would love to see some new additions to the league. Bring back the Nordiques. You do that, you make me a very happy man. I mean, you already brought back the Winnipeg Jets. You bring the Nordiques back. Look out. That's all I can say about that. I know it's probably not going to be the same uniforms. I know it's not going to be those awesome unis they used to have back in the 80s and the 90s. And you remember '95 was their last season. That was before they became the Colorado Avalanche. They had Joe Sakic, and they had Peter Forsberg and Valerie Kaminsky, just to name a few, back on those awesome teams. Oh, how awesome it would have been if they had stayed around. And go figure. The year after they leave Quebec and go to Colorado, they win the Stanley Cup in 1996 when they beat the Florida Panthers and beat them in a 4-game sweep. I mean, I was devastated because I was like, they had only stayed in Quebec, but the Quebec Nordiques would have won a Stanley Cup. That would have been freaking epic. But alas, it is what it is. But hey, the Nordiques, it looks like the Nordiques are coming back. It has to be Quebec. I mean, if they bring the team to Quebec, it has to be the Nordiques. That's all I can say about that. You do that, very happy man, you're going to make me. And then there's only one thing left to do. I know this is wishful thinking, but if you've already brought back the Winnipeg Jets and you're going to bring back the Quebec Nordiques, why don't you bring back the Hartford Way? You do that. Oh to mark out like I never marked out before in my life. So that's all I can say about that. But this is definitely a mark out moment. Um, very happy for the city of Seattle. I mean, a city that's been still devastated about the loss of their beloved Sonics in the NBA that became the Oklahoma City Thunder. And but not to worry because the Oklahoma City Thunder are definitely a main event mafia team in the NBA right now. No question about that. And Seahawks coming off the Super Bowl, and right now when it comes to Seattle, it's a Seahawks town. It's clearly a Seahawks town right now because they are the defending Super Bowl champions. And I'm going to be quite honest with you, I think they're the favorites right now. I still think they're the team to beat in that NFC. And I really can honestly say I think there's a great chance they're going to get back there. No question about that. That's how damn good that team is. If you haven't seen what they've been doing in their few preseason games already, oh my goodness! I mean, wow, a lot of holiday hamming going on in the Emerald City, sure. And then you got the Mariners who are having one of their better seasons. Like I said, I mean, it's been a long, long time since this has been a playoff caliber team. They haven't been in the postseason since 2001. You remember that awesome year they had, that record-setting year they had, where they won the 116 games. Unfortunately, they didn't win it all because my Yankees got them. Oh, they got them good. That's all I can say there. But they're in the midst of a playoff push, and it would be great for that city. And bringing in an NHL franchise to Seattle, I mean, that would be awesome. I would love to see an NHL franchise in the Emerald City. No questions about that. Put them in Key Arena. That works for me. In Vegas, like I said, the closest thing they had was the Outlaws, the XFL franchise. I mean, the only things they have in Vegas are the college teams. UNLV. That's pretty much the closest thing they've had. That's the only major championship that's ever come to that region. When UNLV won the national title in 1990 in college basketball against, unfortunately, Mikey Stookies there. Oh boy, they Holiday Hammer good. Holiday Hammer by 30, one of the most lopsided, maybe if not the most lopsided title game of all time. That 30-point beatdown. And then, of course, you have Toronto. I mean, look at the Maple Leafs. I mean, you have the Maple Leafs, who haven't won a Stanley Cup since 1967. 1967. That's the last time that franchise has celebrated a Stanley Cup. That was back in the old school. I mean, the closest they've been to the finals is, I believe, 3 appearances in the conference finals. 93, they lose to LA with Wayne Gretzky and Barry Melrose was the coach. In 99, they get tripped up by the upstart Buffalo Sabres. And then 2002, I believe, they made it to the conference finals again, but got upstart tripped up by another upstart team, the Carolina Hurricanes, formerly the Hartford Whalers. So a second franchise would be great for them. I mean, I know it might be, and Fletcher was a little shaky on that, and I certainly was like, why would Toronto get a second team? Don't forget, New York's got 2 teams, the Islanders and the Rangers. I mean, Rangers coming off an epic Stanley Cup run this year, and the Islanders, well, haven't been relevant since since they won those 4 Stanley Cups all in a row, from 80 to 83. So, yeah. But all in all, great expansion here. I mean, I really hope this happens. The Quebec Nordiques. I mean, that's what I want to see the most. I mean, as happy as I would be to see a second team in Toronto, I kind of think it's a trifle unnecessary. But remember, there's a Toronto team in the AHL. Unless they're planning to bring that team up from the AHL and make them an NHL franchise. I think it's the Toronto Marlies or the Toronto Ice. I think it's the Toronto Marlies. I think that's the name of that AHL franchise. Because I know they have a team in Toronto in the AHL. I know that. They had a decent run in the Calder Cup playoffs. And then couple that with Vegas, getting their first ever pro franchise, that would be awesome. And then bringing a third franchise to Seattle to go with the Seahawks and the Mariners. So as happy as I would be for those cities, the silver tuna for me is Quebec City, because that's obviously the Nordiques. You bring the Quebec Nordiques back. You thought I marked out when the Winnipeg Jets came back. That's nothing compared to what I'll do if the Quebec Nordiques do back. And then God forbid if they ever decide to, further down the road, bring in the Hartford Whalers. Yeah, that's all I can say about that. So, I mean, say what you want about Gary Bettman and how he's one of the two worst commissioners in sports, along with Roger Goodell, because of some half-assed things that they do. But this is one Gary Bettman decision that I'm actually going to support and I'm going to stand behind. I mean, I still have a little bit of some sour grapes on him, so me being the Ranger fan, I'm not going to get into that because you folks are going to be saying, oh, he's going to be a noggin and diva still, but no, I'm going to try to get over that as best as I can. So all in all, I like all these moves. That's really all I can say about it. I mean, if you want to get more information on it, read the article I posted on my Facebook on si.com. So yeah, I reported it last night. It was trending on Twitter, and yeah, that's the only way the NHL will be trending on Twitter at this time of the year. Because remember, the season doesn't start for another month and change. So that's my thoughts on that. So with that said, I'm going to throw it up now to Cerebral Vipers. So Mikey, I know you have a lot to say about Toronto at least, but your thoughts overall. I mean, I really want to get your thoughts on Quebec. I mean, on the possible return of the Northeast. That's what I want to know most of all.
But the way I feel about this, it goes like this. When it comes to the Las Vegas team, there's been a lot of rumors about certain professional teams that wants to work with Vegas. But the one major hang-up when it came to Vegas was the mere fact that there's a lot of gambling, and that means that means a lot of the Vegas odds makers has to take the books off of NHL games or anything like that. Because remember, the NBA was talking about bringing a professional team to Vegas, but they got into a little bit of a stalemate as it pertained to working with the deal, working with, Las Vegas as far as the gambling aspect, and that really was a major hang-up. And that's why you don't see any NBA team there. And Gary Bettman has made it very clear that he didn't want to work with Las Vegas because of the gambling thing and something like that. And for him to do a complete about face and to now bring possibly a franchise to Vegas was shocking. This was the one that threw, I think, a lot of people through for a loop than anything else, and everything. So we'll wait and see what happens with that. When it comes to Seattle, I think this is their way of sticking it to the NBA. Now remember, if everybody remembers, about a few months ago, there was a deal in place where it looked like the NBA, the Maloof brothers, was about to sell the team to a Seattle organization, and that the Seattle Supersonics was going to be reborn over there. And then for some way, somehow, the deal fell apart. Kevin Johnson and his ownership was able to get the team, and now they're going to get a brand new arena, and the Sacramento Kings will stay there. And what really stuck out was the way David Stern really thumbed his nose and said, well, I can't talk much about what happened with the Seattle thing. I got a game that I got to go in Oklahoma City and worry about that. That really pissed Seattle off. And Seattle has been very upset with the NBA since then, since that happened. So we'll leave that at that. All right. Now at Toronto. And the thing was that, like I really said with Anthony, I was like, I understand why you give Toronto a second team, and I get it, but you already have an established team. You got the Toronto Maple Leafs. And here's the thing too. The Maple Leafs are the most marketable, and they are the most popular team in Canada. They are better than the Canadiens. They are better than the Ottawa Senators. They are better than any team that's in Canada right now. They are the most profitable and they're the most marketable and the most popular. Now, I don't know if it's because of the lineage. I don't know if it's because of where they are. And remember, Toronto is also one of the original six teams as well. Also was the Montreal Canadiens. Now, of course, I can't say Canadians too loud because we are in the Boston Bruin area, and I always fear of getting jumped by the Bruins fans when, especially around these parts. So that's another day for another story. But then you get into Quebec City. Now, I got nothing bad to say about Quebec. And I know a lot of people are like, well, what do you feel about Quebec? I'm like, well, I think Anthony Floyer pretty much summed everything up in one nutshell when he went in that major, ridiculously over celebration rant, is what I'll call it, because it wasn't a ridiculously over angry rant. It was in celebration. He was happier. He was happier than anything I have not seen this kid that happy in a long, long time. Maybe since the New York Yankees winning the World Series was probably the last time I remember him going absolutely like that. So I'll just say it like that. And I don't got nothing wrong with Quebec. Quebec was a very good team. They were very respectable. They were a decent team back in the day. Now, was it a darn? Did I miss them when they left? Not really. I wasn't as overly upset about them leaving on the first time around. Now, if they do come back and they do bring the Quebec Nordiques, I'll be happy. I won't be over the moon about it, but I'll be happy. I'll be pleased to have another one of those teams that I remember back in the 1990s back in the fold. That's always great to have the lineage of a team from the past to come back, and we always will wait and see what happens there. So the way I feel, and I even brought this up yesterday on the Facebook, I was like, all right, so what would happen if these are the four teams? Clearly, Seattle and Las Vegas will go in the West. Quebec and this second Toronto team will go in the East. Now, how do you break this division down? I'm thinking Seattle's probably going to the Pacific, and then you have maybe Las Vegas. Now, maybe they put them in the Pacific and then bump one of those other teams out and put them in the Central. Very possible. We don't know how it's going to go. I think, just to be fair, you put them in the Central Division. Then, over on the other side, Quebec. Now, here's the thing with Quebec. This is very interesting and it's going to be very telling because of the fact that I believe what they're going to do is they're going to put the second Toronto team away from where the Maple Leafs are, because I don't think they would want to have the Maple Leafs and this second Toronto team in the same division together. Because if you do that, oh boy, you want to talk about conflict of interest? Now, I do know for a fact they have done it before, where the New York Rangers and the New York Islanders are in the same region. They're in the Metropolitan Division. So maybe they do that again. But the way I feel is that I think you should have one team in the Atlantic, one team in the Metropolitan, and I truly believe that the New York that I believe that the New York Islanders should be moved out of the Metropolitan and put them in the Atlantic just to even it out so that there won't be any clashes between the two cities. Just my personal thoughts alone, just my feelings alone. But whatever the case may be, if this does go down, that's 34 teams in the NHL. And the fear that I have is that the talent pool for 34 teams might be too diluted, and I think that's where the level of play might be in a tough position. But like we said, even though the deputy commissioner is saying nothing's etched in stone yet, we all have to ride it out and we'll wait and see what happens. But if it does happen, 2017 is going to be a banner year for the National Hockey League. And I think for Anthony Floyd and for myself, we cannot wait for that to happen. All right, guys, so that's it for our special edition of the Ranger Roundup. So on Friday night is Football Friday, NCAA college football. We're going to get into the top 25 of those games. And then, who knows, we might even preview the first NFL game because I don't think we got nothing set for Saturday. I think it'll be the next week after. But until then, for Anthony Folio, I'm Mike Fletcher. You know the routine, everybody. How's the hand pounds? We out. So long from East Providence, Rhode Island. Have a good night, everybody.